Alright, notifications are out there. Feels a little bright. I'll go with that. That feels good. So I do think I need to kind of dig in to that one. This one should be big enough though. Starting to think that a key mistake I made here was leaving the other side. Might have to try to break these open and clear the other side's little container off. What, like a rule they used to have? I mean, I feel like there's a bunch of that. Dude, Zangors don't have shield variants anymore. I just noticed that, like, the last time I was taking a look at everything. Because I wasn't thinking about it. I just assumed it would be there. But then I was looking at the Spearhead, and the Spearhead was like, all right, you can, you know, you take your Zangors. You take 2 squads of 5, which isn't a thing. Squads of 10. But, you know. Spearhead is Spearhead. It's a little different. But then, like, looking at Zangors, there's no Arcanite shields for ward saves anymore. You just have blades and you have blades and beaks, and that's it. So all of my Zangors are just the same thing. I honestly, if I want to field a ton of Zangors, I'm putting in the chain swords and pistols, because it doesn't fucking matter. It just doesn't matter. It's just a model at this point. Get a little bit of this recorded. Oh. Wait, is that just an oversight then? Like, you're saying this is the new character, which means this is the one they just released in the box set. Do you think that's coming out, like, maybe shortly after? Do you think they're just keeping it, like, way too simplified right now? Because I do feel like friggin' Disciples of Tzeentch are just so uninteresting with the decisions that were made to them that there has to be more, but then that's going to come down to waiting for the codex and everything. But there has to be more, man. Like, this can't be it. Vulpus Pink, you are such a good demon flesh color. What's up, beauty? Things are okay. Things are alright. We're seeing the light at the end of the tunnel for all of these projects I've been working on. I might start getting some commission pieces together. Maybe. There's a few people asking. So we might start having fun with like random Death Guard models and stuff. That could be cool. But for now, we're just trying to be mildly careful. Getting all these flesh tones together. Our Spearhead army is done and varnished for AOS. I think the league starts Saturday. Are none of the products out though? I feel like one of the stores local to me was like, hey, who else is interested in picking up one of these last Skaven Tide boxes or whatever? And I was like, I thought those weren't out. He's a cool model. I just don't think he's worth the frickin' $100 that they're asking for. I'm glad I grabbed him before the price changes. Cause like, holy crap. Forge World prices for a regular box. Like, I get that he's the new hotness, but like, Jesus. Yeah, so Skaven Tide dropped last week. We don't have Jade. We don't have any of like the solo standing cards or anything. Right? Like, we don't have the solo stuff. Because I definitely went to one of my locals to check it out. I was kind of hoping just to get the cards or something, but I guess that won't be till this weekend. Which will mean I'm probably going to hope that the store I'm going to for the league, or I'm going to try to go to, I don't know if I'm able to make it. I'm hoping that they are at least stocked enough that I can grab some. I tend to be there at opening, which not everyone in the leagues tend to. They always miss time when they leave and stuff, so I should be able to get some. I should be one of the first people through that door. Yeah, I don't want the Skaven box though.
Poggers.
I don't need that. I'd basically just be getting it to get all the Jadefire stuff, because I thought the Jadefire stuff, the Spearhead stuff was in that box. I'd get that, the cards, and then I'd have to sell everything. Because I have no intention on playing any of those characters. we might be jumping the gun then for Spearhead. Because, like, I feel like none of the products for it are out right now. I feel like we're still kind of in wait and see mode. So most likely I'm going to walk through the door on Saturday and have to buy everything. Dude, it's strange that everything hits. Like, this is now a game of buffs and hoping to buff at the right time for the right moment. Which, I mean, that's kind of what it was before, as far as I can tell, from what little of it I played. Because Cavalry hitting on 4s, despite it being one of your hardest hitting units, which means it's the unit you really want to hit with, just means that you need to have access to +1 to hit somehow. You need it. Because you don't want to waste your cavalry. And there's not enough saturation attacks, as far as I can tell, from most things. So you do need to kind of plan out your buffs and debuffs. Because, like, if I can keep a debuff on someone's big, heavy-hitting unit, then I'm doing something right, I feel like. I feel like if someone's like, yeah, this is my big unit, and they hit on 4s, and I'm like, all right, I'm going to keep you at -1 the entire game, just to make sure that if you do buff it, you're only getting to your 4, then I'm doing something right. I'm still trying to figure out what to do as disciples. I think Time Slip Pendant's going to be huge. I think I go Zangor Shamans and I grab a Time Slip Pendant. Because I'm going to need to basically catch one person's unit off guard with both a Zangor Shaman and maybe a like some extra units and stuff. Like, I need to get a ton of units in there. Because the Time Slip Pendant, what it used to do, which was dumb, was the unit that attacked would then be able to trigger an ability which would give it fights last. So it was basically a double fight situation, right? So your unit could double fight. This is the new Chaos pseudo-god, I guess demigod at this point. It's a being from the Warp who's considered the Forge Master. He makes most of the demon engines and weapons that Chaos uses, as well as demons, the demon factions. So a lot of the demon factions don't really mess with this guy because he's very useful to them. So, you know, you don't bite the hand that feeds, I guess. You don't attack the guy who's giving you all your engines of war that you want so you can fight each other all the time and maintain power. But because he's like that needed, it's given him a lot of leeway in life to try to figure out how to become a full-blown god. So that's what he's doing. He's basically wandering around trying to figure out if he can become a god. The next of the gods, I guess. Because you got Be'lakor, you've got, of course, Slaanesh, Nurgle, Tzeentch, and Khorne. Maybe there's room for another. I do think this is kind of the direction they want to go to attempt to make a dark ad mech. Which technically you can have right now. Technically. You just, you get a bunch of, like, cultists and Trader Guard, but then you paint Skitarii. And then run some demon engines. But yeah, to my understanding, the way he works is if you want to, like, summon him, you have to, like, build his body. And then put his body into it. So, like, that's what this is. It's a mech that was built. And then he was allowed to infest it. I need to look at a picture of him. I'm pretty sure his gas mask, part of it's flesh. So I kind of want to take a look and see. It's just the demon thing. Like, demons have traits that they have to abide by since they are sort of like raw energy almost, like raw emotion and existence. And part of his is just that he can't lie. But yeah, he apparently just works directly with Abaddon. He's trying to get Abaddon to get him whatever he needs to become like a full-fledged Pantheon god, while providing Abaddon with the information and like gear that he needs to be able to perform how he wants during his Black Crusade. Little mutual friendship. Buddy cops. But yeah, I'm kind of painting mine to be Thousand Sun-esque. Because we got the CSM Codex before the Thousand Sun Codex, which means I have access to actually fun stuff. in the CSM codex. And I do already have a lot of crossover models between Thousand Suns and CSM. Explicitly the demon engines I purchased. So it just kind of made sense to do Vashtor as my detachment lead of the Warpsmiths. The frickin' Soulforge. I was kind of hoping to have him ready for the last tournament I did, but there was no way. I kept looking at all the stuff I had to adjust and change, and I was like, oh man, this will never be finished in time. Had I played it, though, we would have actually done really well, since, you know, everything on the map was pretty open. I very easily could have just hid Venom Crawlers behind what little terrain we had. And then turn 2 brought in some Forge Fiends, wreaked havoc. Scored a bunch of points. What's cool is, in the detachment that's kind of very Vashtor-ish, the Soulforge, the one that I play, the whole element of that faction is the enhanced pact. I call it the Vash Pact. But it has an actual name. But it's just, you're basically making an enhanced pact to get more power at, you know, standard cost of more damage or higher damage potential. Basically, it reduces your leadership by 1 when you take your pact test. The Warpsmiths also have, like, the ability to take an enhancement that's called Tempting Addendum. Which is just, like, further packed stuff. Like, it's designed to sound like it's a contract with multiple terms and agreements. That can lead to very bad destruction of your own stuff. Which I've done, by the way. Like, I played this a few times, and I feel like I've done the Tempting Addendum stuff so much. And I've always failed. It's always just like, yo, you want to take more damage? It's like, yeah, I'll take damage if I fail. Oh, I failed. Got a little bit extra work to do with the white. Let me take a look at something. Let me look up Vashdor's image. But yeah, I've been reading over the core rules for AOS. It looks like Vashdor. It looks like a lot of key things are in place the way I expected. You can pile in combat, but there's no, as far as I can tell, there's no consolidation. You get the 3-inch pile in. Why is Vashdor? There he is. Yeah, I thought so. Okay. Okay. Most of his face, like it's the skull underneath is metallic, it looks like, but then his face is flesh. I mean, not the worst. I have 3 warpsmiths back here that I didn't paint in subassembly. Warpsmiths are actually fucking horrible to put together and stuff and then paint. It's mostly that wiring on their back, right? Like, I feel like if you put them together without the wiring and then subassemble the wire, you're probably fine. But I didn't care that much. All right, let's get a little bit more of the corrective white. I feel like anything with a cape, you always want to try to subassemble the cape, if possible. What was it? Warpsmiths would be good for it. Most sorcerers from the Thousand Suns. Including things like the Infernal Master, Terminator Sorcerer Lords, just anything with a cape, really. Although, the thing is, if you don't subassemble and you leave the cape on, as long as you can get the primer under the cape, and if that primer is like a dark color, you just treat it like a shadow. You're fine. No issues. A little corrective white under there. And then his face mask. Also mostly flesh. We got a corrective gold as well. Actually bought it because I feel like my hoplite gold, I have no idea where it is. I think because I want to design him kind of like my Thousand Suns personal version of Vashdor. Oh, you mean like the little... You say servo arms, you're talking about these little guys, right? I feel like that's not that big of a deal. Flesh mask. Night Haunt always looks like they're gonna be strong. Aren't all the characters in Night Haunt have flying? Like, don't they just all fly? Which I think in the new rules makes it so that they don't get cover, right? Like, they can't be considered in cover because they fly. But then nothing against them can also be considered in cover. I feel like the running, I guess, almost meme of the last season was just how powerful Night Haunt was. Like, the idea of, like, oh, are you gonna try hard at this tournament? Nah, I'm not bringing my Night Haunt. Like, that kind of stuff. I think it was them and, like, ogres or something. Giants. I feel like the everyone has a ward is like a universally undead thing. What about flesh eaters? Flesh eaters still have ward universally? Apparently I have to cast the spell to gain a ward. I think only like my demons have wards. I can't give wards to my Zangors anymore. Sad. I built all those shield Zangs thinking I would need it. I'm genuinely trying to sort out what I'm going to do in my head with my disciples if we play like an actual escalation league or something. And I don't know, man. I'm trying to think like what would be good. I do think it's going to involve me having to finish my Fate Skimmer. Like, genuinely, I think I'm going to have to finish my Fate Skimmer. I think he's going to be massively important. But I don't know, because looking at it, I still feel like there's a genuine split between, oh, do you want to play demons or do you want to play mortals? Because I can't go a detachment rule that feels good for demons. But maybe that's fine, right? Like, I don't know. We'll try to highlight the pink before we get into correctives. Meh. He do be looking cool, though. I think I'm going to go green on his weapons and stuff, the glowiness. Because he is going to feel kind of like my Thousand Suns like version of Ashtor. And all my Thousand Suns have glowing green weapons. So like that's kind of the Demon Forge element of it. Is just going to be glowy green. I think that'll work. Let's see. For the highlights, I'm probably going to want to use this brush if I can get it to go flat again. There's once per turn, there's abilities that I've seen on some of my characters where I'm like, I get that it's going to be kind of strong, but it doesn't feel that way. From just the basic reading. Like, let me pull it up. Kairos, like I kind of want to do a Kairos and Lord of Change list. Because I have both of them. I have a good bit of demons, and then I could probably throw like a mortal or two in there. Warhammer. Chaos. Zinch. Kairos. Yeah. So something cool is I was looking into spells, and there are spells with keywords unlimited, which means you can cast them multiple times. Glimpse the Future, that full reroll of my dice, that's unlimited. I can cast that as much as I want. Spell Lore from the Lore of Change is Bolt of Zinch. So I can just cast Bolt of Zinch as much as I want from as many people as I want. It's just a D3 mortal on a roll of 6. So it's like, it's not the worst. I feel like if I have enough sorcerers on the field, because to my understanding, right, when you're building your army, you can pick a trait. You pick your battle formation, which for me, for the most part, is probably going to be Zangor Coven, although the alternative is going to be Weird Flame Host, because I feel like Weird Flame Host is great for demons, or Change Host, which Change Host feels okay for demons, even though it's a once per battle chance on a dice roll, which sounds dumb as hell, but I mean, maybe not. But Weird Flame Host sounds probably like the main one I would want to go. And then you do a heroic trait and an artifact of power, which I'm thinking... Honestly, I might go Weird Flame Blade. I know Nine-Eyed Tome is good, but if I'm going mostly demons, I think giving a Weird Flame Blade to one of my Lords of Change is going to be the way to go. And then it's down to heroic traits, which might be Cult Demagogue. I can't give these to uniques, right? It says hero only, but it doesn't say not uniques. But I'm pretty sure you can't give it to uniques. Because if I give Cult Demagogue to Kairos, that's God tier. Because it's gaining 3 to my cast roll for doubles, and Kairos guarantees doubles. But then you pick a spell lore for your entire army to have access to. You don't have to pick individual spells, but you get the lore for the entire army, to my understanding, and then you just have it. Like, you have access to it. Which would mean if I want to do damage, I go Lore of Change. If I want to do more gimmicky stuff with a little bit of damage, Infernal Gateway is pretty good. But if I want to do more gimmicky stuff with my Fate dice, you go Lore of Fate. Honestly, I think I go Bulk Demons, and then I go Lore of Change. And then, of course, you get the Manifestation Lore. I think the only one I want to summon is the Demonic Simulacrum. That's like the main one I want to summon. Toma Eyes is good, though. Could be good to summon a Toma Eyes. Give Toma Eyes to my Lord of Change or something. Have it follow him around. Although I don't think it moves. You set it up within 12 inches. And it has to be visible. I gotta look at how that works. Because I don't think this one follows. But yeah, Kairos Fate Weaver. He has a once per battle. I get to pick one battle tactic I haven't attempted, or I can pick 2 and try to complete one. I feel like scoring-wise, that's great. But outside of that, I don't know. And the weird thing is, he is pretty much only melee. Like, you need to cast spells to do damage with him. And he doesn't have a built-in damage spell. So that's kind of why you want to go probably Lore of Change. But Lore of Fate's not bad, because then you just drop Infernal Gateway off of him. But Infernal Gateway is not unlimited. So I can't just be like, let me keep casting Infernal Gateway with everyone. Whereas Bolt of Tzeentch, if I've got Kairos and a Lord of Change, I can just be like, oh, let me bolt a Tzeentch with him. Let me Tzeentch Firestorm with this other guy. Throw a Changeling in there. Get some horrors. Might go dual blue horrors. My burning my Exalted Flamers, my regular Flamers. Full squad of Screamers or 2 mini squads of Screamers. Bust out a Fate Skimmer. I think I could have a decent demon army. Wait, where's the battle formations? Are the battle formations in the indexes, or are they part of something else? That was something I remember reading where they were like, oh, battle formations. I was like, oh, let me figure mine out. And I don't see one for my army, which means I think I can only go universal. Let me look up the Toma Eyes real quick. Toma Eyes has a 0 move. It's an endless spell, ward 6. Transfixed by the Countless. Oh my god. Declare a spell ability for a wizard within it. So it can't move. It summons within 12 inches of the caster. You have to be within 3 inches of it to gain its benefit. That sucks. I guess it's like a stacking thing, though. In the index, I don't think I have a battle formation. If what you just said is true, I don't think I have a battle formation. Oh, okay. No, okay. I think we're thinking of something different. Or I'm thinking of something different. I thought... What's the one where you have to, like, select an HQ and, like, 5 units? What's that in the rulebook? That's near the top here. I think. Regiment. There we are. Regiment. Army composition with regiments, battle formations, enhancements. What's the regiment? The standard. Also, I need to look at enhancements real quick. Each set of faction rules includes a number of enhancements that can be given to units. Heroic traits, mount traits, artifacts of power can take enhancements for each enhancement table on your faction. Unique units can't be given enhancements. So, there we go. Kairos can't be given the greatest of enhancements. Spearheads are just the spearhead, right? Like, that's just what it is. You can pick one spell lore available to your faction. If you do, all wizards in your army know all spells. So yeah, you pick one lore, one prayer lore, one manifestation, and you're good. So the building I at least understand. Yeah, pick a spearhead army. Army composition on the first page of Spearhead Army Rules tells you the composition. Yeah, regiment abilities. Each spearhead has 2 regiment. Realm battlefield, spearhead. What about deployment? Something I read here was about deployment being like you deploy an entire chunk of your army all at once. Sets up their army first. Yeah, deployment. Attacker sets up their army first for spearhead. Seizing the initiative, the player who went second in the previous battle round wins priority roll. And it's attacker sets up their army first, and to my understanding, first battle round, attacker chooses who takes first. So like, that's kind of crazy. Because I guess the attacker could set up hyper defensively and be like, you go first. Haha. I had full control all along. Which I guess works. That's kind of cool. Alright, we're going to hope that Fulgrim Pink actually works here. I normally use Fulgrim Pink for my highlights. When I'm using Vulpus, but I don't always like how it applies. Fulgrim Pink is way too liquidy. It's one of the worst pinks I've ever used. I don't want to use this brush for this. I'm going to go back to the thin one. So yeah, the league starts supposedly Sunday. I might try to get to that. Potentially. They're trying a lot of weird stuff with this new season of AOS. Because I feel like they're leaning fairly heavily into RNG with all of their formats right now. I think at this point, Kill Team is probably one of the least RNG related systems, just because you have to preemptively know what your TAC ops and everything are. But who knows, maybe Season 2 or Season 3 or whatever, 3.0 or however we want to talk about it. Maybe it'll lean into what they're doing with all their other formats, where maybe there's just going to be a deck of cards in every single turning point. You have to like draw cards and see what you can achieve. What's up, Rax? We painting demons over here. That led me to think about some stuff too, because I know you were talking about getting the green screen stuff together and trying to do some fun stuff where you wanted to get some backgrounds to walk out to. I'm gonna go ahead and say that it's probably very rare that I'd be able to pull one of those together, but as an idea, something you might want to think about. A lot of games have like photography mode and stuff in them. If there's like a game that you feel represents your stream that has a photography mode, I would almost highly suggest getting to a situation in the game where you can take video of it with like no HUD or anything. And just do like a really fun live animated backdrop from a video game that you can kind of stand in front of. Get like a couple of them to swap between for different streams. Yeah, if there's like an ambient, if there's just like a straight up ambient screen, right? Like an ambient, like, I guess, menu, that could be good and without any of the font on the screen, stuff like that. Like, there's got to be something that you can get like a 2-minute recording of and then just figure out. You can edit them basically by splitting the video down the middle, swapping the sides of the video, and then doing a sort of like diffusion transition on the middle part. That way it feels like it's on a constant loop as opposed to just suddenly like shifting. It's a fun little trick you can do to create those infinite loop concepts. Oh, you're gonna Elden Ring stream? I think the trick is everyone wants to play the DLC. So if you just got Elden Ring, you're gonna have to like go to the DLC. I don't know. I don't know metrics wise what'll work. We'll see. We'll see how long you last in it though. One of those games where you might just get annoyed at some of the jank and BS. Because it is... The part that I hate about Elden Ring is the controls. Like, it's when I'm trying to fight something and the camera is like all over the place and is being weird. Or when I attack and it doesn't actually snap to the target like it's supposed to because I have auto lock on, and instead it just tosses me like a weird direction. I'm like, alright. That was my big attack moment. I don't know why you decided to hurl me this way. That's, like, game's great, don't get me wrong. The controls in it feel worse than something like Monster Hunter. In my opinion, like, Monster Hunter friggin' tank controls are sort of like the key in this Elden Ring series. Which is super annoying. I just want good controls, man. I want the game to feel smooth. And it just doesn't. But that's the way they wanted it. So you kind of got to work within the confines of their decisions. The Bloodborne dodge isn't even something I want. Like, I just want the game to feel better. Like, I want to push a direction and click attack and have my attack go that direction. Sometimes, like, the lock-on negatively impacts the game, right? Because I'm trying to keep the camera on my character while playing. And because I'm doing that, when the enemies move weirdly, because the lock is technically to a central mass point on the target, if they move oddly, it makes the camera like go a direction you don't want it to, which then just forces you to like swing into the air. And you're like, oh, cool, that was awesome. It's actually why I liked Sekiro better. Like, Sekiro was just the better game for me, in my opinion, because the combat felt way smoother. Like, most of the duels and everything I went through involving, like, countering and stuff, it just felt better. Like, personally, I hold Sekiro up higher in terms of combat. If they made a Sekiro game that was as open world as Elden Ring, it would be god tier. The thing is, I did like a lot of the elements that Sekiro put into place. Like, did you know, if you were trying to go to the underworld and you had already killed that gorilla boss, there would be a gorilla boss between you and the underworld. So if you go to the underworld earlier than you need to, you actually don't have to fight that frickin' ridiculous, like, dual gorilla boss that's down there. You can just go. I'm good at parry gameplay. And then even then, the combat itself felt smooth. The camera didn't mess up a lot outside of certain bosses, like the gorilla boss. That's actually why I hated the gorilla boss, because he jumped around all the time, and he would do those weird, like, organic movements that caused your camera to, like, spin in circles. Like, part of playing against that boss was knowing when to turn off the lock-on. Because if you left the lock-on, you would lose where you were. And that's a very key, important thing in that game, is knowing where you're standing and what you can do where you're standing. So going from, like, hey, I know exactly what's happening, to, oh my god, where am I? What's happening? Like, in an instant is just the worst thing ever. Which is basically every boss in Elden Ring. The amount of times I've seen people die because they lose track of where they are and they walk off a ledge or trap themselves in a corner. But I remember fighting the Swordmaster boss. It was like a midpoint boss before that electrical dude. The guy with the electro sword that you have to, like, fight in multiple stages. I remember coming across him as a boss and just defeating him outright without noticing he was a boss. Like, it did the whole, like, you beat a boss cutscene thing after I killed him. And it was all because I had basically flawlessly parried his sword every single time he did his flurry attack on me. Because you have to parry like 10 times in rapid succession. And I did, because I was that good. Frickin' wrecked his house. See, but the thing is, what you're describing is Elden Ring. You want enemies to go to the end of their fight sequence, because if you're going to attack during their fight sequence, you have a high chance of dying. Because you get things like one of the first bosses that screws people up. I can never remember his name because I don't really care about their names. It's the guy guarding the gateway to the city. And in his second phase, he has those 2 attack sequences that go from stage 1, it's like 3 attacks in sequence. Stage 2, it's like 20 attacks in a sequence. And they're lunging attacks, so he 9 times out of 10 gets through your guard if you're guarding. So that's literally what that game becomes as well. It's classic, it's FromSoft. FromSoft is all about seeing how the enemy attacks, knowing when your openings are, and then waiting for the opening. Very similar to kind of Mega Man in that way. Which is always funny to me. I've always viewed kind of the combat system, like the general how-to, in a very similar fashion to how Mega Man worked back in the day, of just like, all right, learn the pattern, see what they're doing, respond. Get some recording of this. Like, I'm okay with the FromSoft games. I just don't like... After a while, I just don't like single player. Like, it just starts feeling really boring to me. Because for me, single player is literally just the company built a puzzle, and you have to solve that puzzle, and that's it. There's really not like a live shifting of options, changes, adaptability. You don't really get that from single player games that much. Like, you always have to adapt to opponent's strategy in multiplayer, and that's why I love it. Keeps me on my toes. Which is problematic, because some of the best games for that are also some of the most niche. Like most multiplayer games, the way they try to get people to play is by hyper simplifying options and concepts. That way, even when you're playing multiplayer, you don't feel super stressed because your opponent can only do so much. And you can only do so much to respond. So it's like, You know, it's almost like a stress-free PvP situation. But like God, it's been so long since I've played it, and I kind of want to go back to it. And the best part is, because of like the editing job I do with like other gamers and stuff, and we have our podcast and we talk occasionally about these things. Frickin' Hell Let Loose. I remember when Hell Let Loose was like coming out on console, so a few of the people we were on the podcast with decided to check it out. I guess they were given codes to take a look at it. And then they trashed it. They trashed it so hard because I agree, it's not a console game. It's not designed for the console environment. It's designed for people who actually want to work together and talk a lot and actually strategize. That's not really console players. Console players are the guys that get home from a long day at work, getting yelled at by their boss, who don't want to get yelled at by someone for not achieving a goal, but also want to selfishly be the hero that gets the highest KDA and declares that they are the reason the team won. That is societally what consoles are for at this point. So listening to them complain about their experience with Hell Let Loose while I was having an amazing time in Hell Let Loose. Like, literally the first game I played of Hell Let Loose, I got put into a... it was a map that had 2 really big ravines with rivers going through them. And I got put into a squad that I spawned on who was in the river behind a bunch of rocks. And our whole goal was to give information to our backline mortars about where the enemies were spawning and to keep enemies from crossing the river. That was our purpose. And we were like a frontline team for that. So it was just nonstop communication with my squad lead, leading to me seeing mortars coming down on the hillside in the areas I had marked. Oh, dude, it was so cool. Because those mortars were coming from people. Like, those were the mortars that were being fired from our backline. So the people on our backline had to measure distances, determine, like, angles, and then start opening fire. It was great. Our tanks were, like, hiding up on the hillside, just laying down some anti-infantry shots. You'd see an enemy vehicle driving by, you'd mark it. Friggin' anti-armor shot from a tank from across the river would just hit it in its side and blow it up. It was great, man. Dude, I love that game so much. I gotta get back into it. They've done a lot of map expansions. They've taken a lot of the maps that have existed and they've given them night fight versions, which, oh my god, dude, night fight in that game, so good. So good. I've played every role in Hell Let Loose. Snipers, tank crew, tank commander. Dude, it's such a good game. You get epic stories for all of it. Like me and my buddy getting into the back line as the sniper crew and taking out the enemy supply lines and stuff. Finding really good positions near villages that we were trying to take over from like odd angles and just unloading shots into the town, killing very key gun points. Man, dude, it's such a good game. And it was great to hear like my coworkers rag on it because they were like, oh, I spawned and then I died. And it's like, that's on you, bro. What were you doing at the time? Oh, I was just sprinting at the enemy. It's like, oh, you did it to yourself, I see. I had no idea where the enemy was, so no one was communicating? You weren't checking the marks on your map? Okay. It's kind of great because it makes it a bad experience on console to just be a console player. Like, that's got to be the worst experience in the world. I love that game, but it has to be terrible on console. I have no doubts about that. Probably gonna reinstall it when I get home. I really shouldn't though. I got a lot of projects I need to work on. And a round in that game is like an hour and a half. Like when you play that game, you're dedicating a chunk of time. Unless your team's good, then you're getting out of there in like 45 minutes. I think you showed me that. It's mostly just about getting out there, gearing up so that you can kind of survive. And the whole point is just to get items to hand to people so that you can get better, like, renown with them. There's like 2 factions that fight during the day, and then the AI faction comes out at night. And their whole thing is that they just want you for your organs to try to create, I guess, new stuff for themselves. Like they're trying to create like bodies or something. And they're all like really weird looking. Like they almost look like this guy right here. With like machine and flesh interwoven. And then the entire premise was based on the factions you support in certain areas. They'll start to have more people there, which means it'll be like a little safer for you in like certain situations because they'll be kind of allied with you. But it like massively augments kind of the way you feel when you're on the surface in that area. Sounds kind of cool. I think I'll switch over to my different layering brush. Try to make sure I get some of the peak areas a little bit more. This brush is great to just get like weird little angles and textures, depending on how you hold it and how you apply. But there's some spots like the shoulders and stuff that I kind of want it to be a little bit more solid as an applied color. Top of the thighs, all that stuff. Why are you failing me, YouTube Music? Skip. He's looking good. Grab this better brush. For the more solid layers. Ooh. I like it. What to do next? Maybe we tone the gold. It's gonna be a key thing here, is toning the gold. Nah, let's actually, let me pull out the actual, come on. Pull out the actual wet palette here. We're gonna kind of preempt some spots for the fluorescent green we're gonna apply later. Kind of mark those zones out. And then maybe we'll do correctives before we do the toning, because correctives are gonna be important, since that could technically be part of the toning. Indeed, Pope. Indeed. Happy painting, and God bless. Oh, there you go. It's been fun to paint so far. Getting the demonic skin tone done always sort of like sets my demon engines up for success or failure. 'Cause sometimes I get it wrong, sometimes it's fine, and I think it's fine with him. I think he looks good. Now it's just a matter of getting all the glowy bits prepped. I actually don't think there's much more I need to really do with him. We'll do the glowy bits, toning, correctives. I need to adjust things to straight up regular metal. Because like gold metal's great, but we also have spots that need bolt gun instead. I guess we can do piping too. I gotta grab I think it's a dragon scale red from Army Painter. It's usually what I use my piping with. Oh no, this is a little different. I think I don't think I want to do black. I think we do dragon scale red. Sometimes I do Black Legion speed paint. I think red would look better on him. Occasionally we'll use red, and I think it works. A little standout. Try to hit these things here. The pipings. I saw Joy Toy released Horus Heresy Thousand Sun models, or at least they announced. They got Magnus the Red in his actual like Thousand Suns Chaos Space Marine armor. They got old Ahriman in his like weird triangular face mask thing that he wore. Yeah, I woke up and I saw that on their community page. I was just like, God damn it. I don't need this stuff. I'm kind of thankful it's not like a 40k Magnus, the red, and Ahriman Joy Toy. Those would have been crazy to see. Like an actual, like, giant Magnus. Would have been bonkers. Might have to two coats this. No, yeah. Joy Toy is definitely one of the brands I guess Games Workshop went with. Because I know they also do stuff with McFarlane. But I feel like they don't like McFarlane as much. Joy Toy is getting so many cool model concepts. And then McFarlane usually gets like one-off frickin' Space Marine, one-off Gene Stealer. Which kind of sucks for him. Because it feels like he's competing internally with another company for like the visual aesthetic of the toys. And he's just losing. Like at the pace Joy Toy puts out their stuff, which arguably is probably because of like some crazy shit going on behind the scenes. Like Joy Toy will put out like 20 variants of something. And crazy stuff too, like person on motorcycle, whole ass Hellbrute / Dreadnought. Like just crazy stuff. And then in the time it takes Joy Toy to put out maybe like 30 variants, McFarlane comes forward and he's like, we got the new Space Marine coming out. It's just a general Space Marine. We didn't even decide to color it. And you're like, oh, okay. What are you doing, McFarlane? He is my favorite to watch, though. Because he has an Instagram account, right? And whenever he comes out with like a new toy product, he does a whole ass video for it. And it's always hilarious. Because he's so old now. He is so old. And watching this elderly man on camera be like, it's got the karate chop action. It brings so much joy to my heart. It's so fun to watch him do that. Because it's so weird. Like, I bought the, he did a Kickstarter for like a special edition remake of one of his old Spawn models where they like enhanced it a lot. They gave it a lot more posability. They gave it a lot more swappable things. You could buy the variant that was like zombie version, or you could buy the variant. I think the two variants for Spawn was I think they called it Shoelace Spawn, which is the Spawn that had the shoelaces up the middle of its face, which was badass looking. And then they had like regular Spawn, right, where it was just undead kind of deal. So you could pay in and choose when the ordering was happening to be like, oh, I want the Shoelace Spawn. And Shoelace Spawn came with specific guns and visual aesthetic stuff. I remember that. Let me just get in here real quick. And they ended up being the ones I actually wanted, which was good. Because I actually do like Shoelace Spawn better than regular Spawn. But I remember getting it, and all the stuff, pretty much if you kickstarted, basically every single like couple weeks you would get a video. It was like the video update from McFarlane. And it would just be him sitting there being like, we plan on giving you the fireball action. Like, dude, come on. Come on. There's got to be someone younger in your company that can talk to these kids. I feel like you're Vin Diesel trying to sell me on Street Sharks. That actually happened. To those who don't know, Vin Diesel was a spokesperson for the Street Shark brand. Yeah, they did there's actually footage on YouTube of him at a toy convention, and it's like an interview. They're basically going around interviewing the different toy makers and their companies, and they usually put like a spokesperson up to basically stand there. It's got to be the funniest thing ever. They're basically standing there playing with the toys, and it's always people who are like late 20s, early 30s. Like, those are the people who got hired to do this. And they're just like, yeah, they got the chomp action. And it's Vin Diesel doing it. It makes it perfect. Because he's just standing there in like a blank frickin' tank top. The classic Vin Diesel, like, signature outfit. Just playing with Street Sharks. It's the best. It's not even me being like, haha, he's so stupid. It's actually being like, that was awesome. Like, that was actually awesome. A lot of people, dude, Warhammer is weirdly built into like a cross section of society. I feel like if Cavill didn't come forward during a lot of like talk shows and stuff about it when he was on the move with all the different movies he was in, I honestly, it would have just been something that a lot of famous people played that no one talked about, because there's a lot of them, dude. There were whole sequences of shows that Cavill would be on where he would bring it up, and the person he was sitting across from was like, oh, you play too? Like, it was just a surprising thing. And it's just, it'd be one of those great moments for me. It would never happen, because, I mean, the stigma of the competitive scene of 40K, just like any gaming scene, feels a lot like no one from any kind of famous circles would go to it. Like, they just play locally or with friends or something, and then that's, like, the end of it. Like, I don't think Cavill's going to a GT. Not because he's probably not good at the game, but because he looks at, like, the videos of it, and is just like, eh. I don't know if I want to be around those people. And you get it kind of universally, too. Like, even at the small tournaments I went to that had, like, big name people, out of nowhere from like local stuff. I still don't understand that. That still boggles my mind to this day that I'm fighting people who go to like international GTs at small tournaments. Like, God, you get that meme of the people you don't want to interact with at tournaments. I remember, and it was kind of funny because the rest of his teammates were like, dude, stop it. It was hilarious in that regard because it was a 3v3, I believe. This was the 3v3 tournament that I helped out with. I joined up one of the locals to play. And I just remember, I vividly remember the first guy, the first team we played, like most of them were just cordial, nice. Those are the people you want in the scene. But they had a third with them, and that guy was literally like the edgelord. He saw that I was playing Thousand Suns and I was using Magnus. And I just remember when I picked my opponent, it was the Sisters of Battle guy. And the Black Templar edgelord dude basically looked at his teammate and was like, remember, Thousand Suns, you gotta look out for the main attack he has. The gaze of Magnus. Gay. Like, he just kept saying it. And he'd, like, giggle between times he would say it. And then the rest of his team was like, yeah, we get it, dude. And they kind of, like, walked off. Like, it very much felt like they grabbed a third from a group that they knew. And they were just like, oh, we're going to have to play with this guy. Like, it had that kind of feeling of it. And it's like those are the people that keep bigger names from wanting to go to conventions and playing in larger tournaments. It's like, what are you doing, dude? High school let out early. Why are you here? Even at the Too Many Games tournament, Rax, one of the people that I came across, he was like underhandedly like mocking other people. It was kind of weird. Like, it was an awkward experience. It was the third and final round, and I thought I was gonna play against him, but apparently there was a mix-up in the matchmaking. He thought he was on table like 6 or something, but he wasn't. It was the actual last guy I played against, the Blood Angels player. It was just an old dude. He was only playing because if not, there'd be a person who kind of sat out every round during the tournament. So he was just kind of there as a flex pickup character. But we were getting ready to fight the other guy who was he was there, and he basically was just talking. He was like shit talking all the other people who showed up without painted models. Like, he was going in on it. He was like, God, all the laziness. I was like, dude, these people are new. This is a small tournament. He was very loud when he was talking. Like, it's almost like he wanted everyone around him to hear his disdain for their lack of paint jobs. It's like, dude, you're a dick. You're just a dick. At this point, I think in the community, only GTs have strict painting rules. Like, they want stuff to be painted at GTs. It's actually worth points to paint your stuff. Because usually GTs are streamed. Look for small local Rogue Trader tournaments. And do you have any, like, local places? Because, honestly, learning the rules, that's where you're going to need to go. And you need to make sure it's a learning game. Like, that's probably a big thing, is to make sure your opponent knows it's a learning game. Because I feel like I would approach a learning game completely differently than, like, a real game. I would bring specific models that do certain things. I would want to show my opponent different elements of the game that he needs to think about all in one go. I'd try to make sure I have deep strike models to try to kind of let him know about screening and be like, talk it up from turn 1, show him the results of it in turn 2 kind of deal. Because if he actually follows through on it, I'll be like, look, I can't go anywhere that's important with these guys. It's very important. Make sure you know if your opponent has the ability to, you know, deep strike on you turn 2 or 1, even 1 in some regards. Make sure you know what the enemy has that he can put in reserve and come out of, like, board edges and stuff. Like, it's important. You're going to want to learn to screen. It's probably one of the main things. Mental prepping for Spearhead is going all right. We keep looking at the rules, re-verifying certain things. I'm trying to figure out how I'm going to play. I mean, Tzeentch Spearhead is kind of meh. We're looking at 2 5-man squads of Zangors, 1 10-man squad of Acolytes, which that means I have 2 5-mans of melee that are okay, 1 10-man of ranged, which is good, but they lose their rend ability, I think. I think that was like a big thing, because Kyric Acolytes, they want to gain extra rend, and I think they got rid of it for us. We also don't have access to, like, musicians or anything. Let me take another look at the Spearhead list. Is this the rules book? Which one's this? No, this is mine. So I get my Masters of Destiny. I get my 9 Fate dice, which hopefully is good. I get 3 Flamers, 3 Screamers, 5 Zangs, 10 Kyric, and a Meister, or a Magister, which is hot garbage. It's a pretty bad combination. For Disciples, I get 2 regiment choices. Roll a dice each time a friendly Kyric Acolyte model is slain, and then put it into a Zangor squad. I'm guessing up to the 5. That's horrible. You usually just want to go add 1 to the Ren characteristic of ranged weapons used by Flamers. That way you have 1 squad that's insanely good. Shield of Fate enhancement, not great. Time Slip Pendant is probably the best that I've got. Glimpse of the Future is okay. I think it was on 7+. You can roll it. Yeah. Glimpse of the Future was okay. Once per was okay. It's kind of garbo. Time Slip Pendant might be where it's at, just because if you have 2 squads of Zangors and the Magister, you can force the squad you're fighting to go last, and then just swing on them with 2 squads. But overall, yeah, we get Gestalt Sorcery, but we don't have the benefit of getting +1 on the roll, because you're not going to have extra Kyrics nearby. Screamers are still Screamers. Fly over things, get Mortals. Zangors, you have to be in enemy territory to get 2 on, to get the exploding crits. It's okay, but 4 to hit, 3 to wound. What do you get spells-wise? I don't think you have access to the regular spells, right? You only get access... Wait. No, yeah, you don't get any access to spells. The Magister is considered a wizard, but he's not a wizard 1 or a wizard 2. And there are no spells, like actually spell keyword things. He gets the Bolt of Change, which is okay, D3 Mortals. That's not bad. But that's it. He doesn't even get the other benefit that his type gets, which is if you cast a spell successfully, you can cast a second, but at a chance of dying. I'm not looking forward to playing Zangors, but maybe there'll be something going on with them. I think the key thing is to put the 2 squads of Zangors in front and then have the Kyric Acolytes and Flamers behind them. And that's just going to be the whole thing. Because you can shoot into combat. Well, Spearheads are going to be universally easier, I think. My Spearhead's already painted. It's done. I just got to play, and I think the league starts this Sunday. I might make it a point to head up Saturday and see if they have all the stuff. Do we think that the stores are going to have the things on Saturday? Because if they do, I'll just show up early morning Saturday, grab it, and leave. But in general, Disciples of Tzeentch don't feel good, in my opinion, from like just the general stuff that they have now versus what they had. There's still a lot of focus on melee for some stupid reason. They don't feel like the sorcery faction. They feel less powerful in some ways in that regard. Like, I don't know, there's just a drop, it feels like. Just doesn't feel good. My list building in my head just, it's not clicking. I'm trying to design something and the only thing I can think of is going Zangors for their massive rally resurrection function. But I don't think that's going to be important because I'm pretty sure whoever I'm fighting is going to be able to wipe a squad of Zangors off the field in one go. Both. Phone call. Still on the phone. Just got off though. My parents are in Hawaii with my brother and his girlfriend. So it's like 7 a.m. over there right now. So they were calling, checking in. Okay, let me think what else we need to do here. I think I want to do this. It's fine. You guys had smooth jazz. Keep you company. The smoothest of jazz. I think tomorrow I'm going to try to plan for us to do an airbrush day so I can try to prep a lot of this extra stuff for airbrush work. I think I want to take home some of my clipping and carving tools and the Sposons for the Predator because I feel like I need to fix it. It's so close to being perfect and there's just some minor adjustments I need to make. Shammy, you don't have to apologize if you gotta do things, man. Hopefully you're doing alright where you are. Hopefully things get better. It's good to see you drop in though and say hi. That's always good. I think before we go too much farther, I want to paint the rocks at his feet white so they can be prepared. Yeah, it's good to see you pop in. This is just to prep it for the contrast later. I'm gonna make them sandstone-like. Yeah, man. You been paying attention to the AOS stuff or not really doing that? I'm going to try to get to an event for it this weekend. I think Sunday. I'm going to have to step out real quick on Saturday because I do think I want to get to the store. I'm going to try my local store on Saturday. I want to love my local store for getting stuff, but like occasionally Games Workshop screws them and like sends them the wrong stuff or sends the stuff they ordered to like a different place. They still have so many problems with their distribution, man. And it has played against them so hard. So I'll probably swing by that store first because they're open earlier. I am not happy with the Disciples of Zine Trolls. I think that they didn't take them in a good enough direction. They got rid of a key element of the army that made them very unique. That I agree to with a lot of people wasn't the best. I think the summoning concept was actually kind of dumb. I wanted to see it get replaced by something better, and what it got replaced by was the most mediocre rule I've ever seen. Like, the burning rule, not interesting. It's not as in-depth as we thought it would be. It's not that great. Also, allies. I saw you talking about it, Wake. How does that work? I need to look that up, because I have 3 Mutalith Vortex Beasts. And I know Mutalith Vortex Beasts are Slaves to Darkness models, but I remember the old system allowed for some allies between factions. I gotta look that up, actually. What's it called? Because I have the rulebook pulled up, and I'm trying to see how that works. Because I do like Mutaliths, and the rules for them actually interact with Disciples of Tzeentch decently. Because it's they gain the benefit from being near Tzeentch wizards, which, I mean, if you're in a Disciples of Tzeentch army, you're near a Tzeentch wizard. It's how it works. So, the burning rule. They kind of showed it off, and we were all sort of in a holding pattern to see if it was going to be interesting or not. Because we were kind of expecting units on the field to trigger burning effects on top of, like, the passive one from Weird Flame. But it turns out that there's only, like, a couple units that can do that, but it's not great. So, you can get, like, a melee weapon that applies burning when you hit something with it. That's kind of cool, I guess, depending, but that's the problem, right? Because Thousand Suns aren't really a melee-centric army, so who are you going to give the melee-centric burning weapon to? It's probably going to end up being a Lord of Change. Because, like, what else is there? What else do you want to send in combat that's a hero? Like, I don't want to put a Gaunt Summoner in melee. That sounds like a dumb idea. So, if I go Allied Regiment, I need a hero from, I'm guessing, Disciple? Or the Slaves to Chaos? And then I'm going to need to, on top of that, have a Mutalith Vortex Beast, and then that's like an extra regiment. I need to figure it out. Because I do have them. And I know historically it was like, oh, all I got to do is just take them as a unit. There you go. But if I have to have a champion with them too, I don't know. Might not be worth. Depends on if I have something on hand that I could just declare is my Slaves to Chaos. Or Slaves to Darkness. Champion. I think last thing we'll do today is actually apply the texture paste, so tomorrow we can actually just finish them up. Let's do the fluorescent green. Let's get that going. Then we do fixatives, toning. I'm feeling it. Who else is feeling it? Is it just me? Should I see a doctor? I'm feeling it, Mr. Krabs. Crack the glow sticks. Vastor is hitting the rave. I'm pretty sure Vastor would listen to EDM. Think he'd be a big Rammstein fan. That's so late, I soup the better than. I think you'd listen to Termian Cat a lot. That's probably the one he would listen to. Those guys do what's it called? It's like primal shows. I've seen video of their the shows they put on. They usually have people like hung from flesh hooks on the ceiling. I mean, I'm looking at the rule book. I can always search the keyword for it because I'm not too sure how it works. I love Termian Cat a lot. That was my senior year at college. That was the band that I had in my headphones like all the time. Piruneki. Oh, who said hi? Mordecai bot. I don't know if I like something called bot getting into my server. Let me know, and to anyone in my server, let me know if someone spams your friends' invites or something. I know Rack said someone sent a friend invite to him. But like, if a ton of people do it, I'm just gonna kick them preemptively. Heroes, units, regiment, allegiance. Let me look up allegiance. Where's the rulebook? Oh no, there it is. Attacker picks their regiment ability, their enhancement, blah, 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 blah. Oh, territories are literally to the half. That's actually really good for Zangors. Because the Zangor just needs to get past the halfway marker to get its exploding sixes. That's nice. It's good, it's good. Army composition, lists units including Spearhead. No, this is still Spearhead stuff. Pick one hero to be a general. Reinforced units. Army composition. Hopefully this tells me. Points limit, underspending, battle profiles. You gain 1 extra command point at the start of the battle if your army is 50 below. 50 more points lower than the points limit. So you only get 1 extra for being 50 lower. Information you'll need, blah, blah, blah. Factions, battle formations, armies of renown, many factions, battle formations, each battle formation, faction rules, armies of renown, adding units, regiments. Armies are made up of 1 or more regiments, each which is led by a hero. You must have at least 1 regiment in your army, and you can include a maximum of 5 regiments to add a regiment. So you get a total of 5 regiments. Pick 1 hero. Pick up to 3 non-hero units to accompany them. Each hero's battle profile. Oh. So regiments are a hero and then units. If I have more than one hero, I have to have more than one regiment. So one regiment in your army, you can include a maximum of 5. To add a regiment, pick 1 hero from your faction, then 3 non-hero units to accompany them. Each hero's battle profile. So you can have a total of 5 heroes per game. List can be added to the regiment, and each non-hero unit's battle profiles. The general, reinforced units, unique traits, regiments, renown, auxiliary units, faction, terrain features, enhancements, lures. So what's the side information? Pick your faction, pick your battle formation. Form regiments. Add auxiliary units. Auxiliary units are that aren't part of a regiment. If your opponent has more auxiliary units than you receive 1 extra command point. Add faction terrain. But how do I determine allies? Is it still just is it just that you're picking the overall, like the order, chaos, death, and destruction, and then you can just combine that way? Like, allies. We'll talk about it, I guess, with the people at the store this weekend. Figure it out. Because that does interest me. Although, granted, from what I'm seeing about how the Mutalith works, it's like, it's only so good. I mean, it's definitely conceptually worth the points if I don't really have anything else to take. And I have 3 of them. So I guess you would include them as auxiliary if you don't want to use a hero. It would suck to provide your opponent an extra command point, but it is what it is. Because I could also end up having 50 points less than the total, and I would get an extra command point as well. Although that's probably a strategy, is to have as few auxiliaries as possible, if none, and then to try to be 50 points under the limit to get an extra 2 command points, potentially. Oh, Regiments of Renown? That's what it's under? Let me take a look. Because I did see a segment on that. There's a lot of stylistic things in here. Because he looks like a pimp, but he's also got like a level of industrial metal. And I feel like I could put face paint on the skin on his gas mask and he would look like someone from either Slipknot or ICP. Like, just like a general ICP character. Regiment of Renown. In addition to creating your own regiments, you can also spend points to include one Regiment of Renown. Regiment of Renowns are pre-built regiments, each with their own special abilities. The rules of Regiment of Renown will specify which factions can include it. A unit in a Regiment of Renown cannot use your general even if, or cannot be used as your general even if it's a War Master. Let me take a look. Renown. So there's nothing in the Slaves of the Darkness menu. A fixed regiment that is also its own rules included in your army. Regiment of Renown, I don't know if that's it. Regiment of Renown used to be a thing, and it's still a thing, and it sounds like it's exactly the thing it used to be, which is a specific organized unit. We'll probably start seeing these when the codexes come out. Like, the Disciples of Tzeentch have a Regiment of Renown. That Regiment of Renown is a Kairos and 3 Lords of Change, and it gives you a special ability if you run that as a part of your army. I didn't see any Regiments of Renown yet, but if there's a Skaven and a Stormcast Codex that's coming up or is already out, I can't remember, that'll probably have 1 or 2 Regiments of Renown within that book. I don't want to use this one. I'll just have to talk to people at the store about allies, because I don't know. I feel like, and I understand this, by the way, I feel like Games Workshop's trying to like do away with allies in a lot of situations. It is barely functional for them to, you know, balance this game. It is barely functional for that to work. The idea that even in 40k right now, I could take a Chaos Knight as an ally to any of my armies is insane, because Chaos Knights are cheaper than most tanks that are less durable with less attacks. They're just cheaper because that's how that works. You need to be able to take a decent sized squad of knights in order to even be able to win. So they have to kind of like allow for these very durable, very powerful tanks to exist while simultaneously letting other people use them as allies for some reason. They could have just did away with it completely and been like, nah, you guys get screwed over, haha. No allies for you. All you people who built knights expecting to have good allies. Get fucked, haha. Ha 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 ha. Like, allies are just rough to deal with. So if they were doing away with them in AOS, I could see it. I could see it, I could understand it. They want you to stick to your own faction. They don't want to have to try to figure out how to make certain things balance between each other. Like any Chaos Force being able to take Archon. Who I have, by the way. Like, if it does come down to the point where it's like, oh yeah, you can take an ally, but you need, like, a hero with it, I'll be like, cool, Archon. I'll bring my Archon. Speaking of which, normally Archon will have information on him about being an ally. Let me see if he still does. Ooh, those fingers. They look so good. Alright. Archeon. Oh, he's still god tier. Hits on 2s, wounds on 3s, rending 2, damage 3. It's so good. So stupidly good. War Master, so he's guaranteed he has to be the War Master. Deployment phase, pick one of the following keywords: Khorne, Tzeentch, Nurgle, or Slaanesh. Unit has that keyword in addition to undivided battle damage. Once per battle, roll a dice. The roll replaces the priority roll of the next battle round. On a 1 to 3, your opponent must take the first turn of the battle round. On a 4 to... So you force your opponent to take the turns once per battle. So you have a preemptive knowledge of what's going to happen. Each time this unit uses a fight ability in the unmodified, no, it doesn't matter. 3-headed Titan, this is the Rampage. There's nothing in here about him being an ally to anyone. I don't think there's any direct ally functions currently. There's battle traits, but I'm not seeing anything that talks about allies. This is interesting. I don't know. I'll try to figure it out over the weekend. I should probably record some of me doing this green stuff. To figure it out, because it is all down to wording and sequence. Because if it claims you only have to be part of the same alliance to be on the list, then that's, I guess, one thing. Because then technically I could be Tzeentch plus Skaven. Rat Wizards. Mutalith is in Slaves to Darkness. I do not have a card or access to it in Disciples of Tzeentch, but historically, with how the last rule set worked, the allies claimed that as long as the unit could have the Mark of Tzeentch, it could be brought over, which actually kind of sucked because I wanted to use the Sphinxes. I thought the Sphinxes would actually be really cool visual representations of Tzeentch as like an ally, but those are undivided. So I wasn't able to take any Sphinxes. And I believe Archon in the Old Slaves to Darkness rulebooks explicitly said he could be taken as an ally by anyone. And there was like very specific reasoning for it and very specific ways that he worked. But I'm not really seeing anything about allies. It's going to come down to the wording of making your list, right? Because it's all about regiments. One hero and up to X amount of models. Auxiliaries, having too many auxiliaries is what gives your opponent an extra command point. So if you only have one hero and then like 6 squads, and then your opponent really doesn't have any auxiliaries, he gets a command point. So the main extra command points comes from, are you 50 points under the tournament value? And do you have less auxiliaries than your opponent? But if you could take an allied regiment, then you won't have more auxiliaries, which would mean you could prevent your opponent from getting the extra command point. But yeah, this time around, Archeon doesn't have any information about how he can be taken as an ally, which means I have a giant Archeon model that I don't think I can use anymore outside of Monster Mash, which is the Halloween event we all do. They mow in the yard. Hell yeah. Look at this bad boy. Alright, let's try to get some correctives going, I think. We'll do correctives next. We'll do piping after. What time is it? Ooh. We're cutting it close. This guy's definitely not going to be done today. Where did I put down? There it is. So, correctives. Hoplite gold is one of the closest golds to the Vallejo gold that I use, I believe, from what I determined. So we take a small brush, put the hoplite down. Probably. I feel like I will stream tomorrow. Like, that's always tentative. It's always up in the air just in case something comes up that makes me need to, like, do other stuff. For the most part, I try. We're just gonna meander around. We're gonna look at pretty much every key part on this guy. Redo the gold in areas that need it. I put a little too much right here. Need to redo the yellow. I know a key spot that needs the gold are these shoulder pad things. These wing components. These got hit real bad with the pink. What's the bad news? Is it about allies? Honestly, that would just be news. I mean, I think I was assuming allies were gonna get revamped. Yep, I knew it. I knew it. So that doesn't really necessarily suck for me. It sucks for a lot of the people who built allies for the last edition because they enjoyed them. Which, I mean, there's probably a few people, at least, out there who are like, God damn it. What am I going to do with all these things I built that I can't use now? Well, I feel like they're gonna keep the allies down until codexes drop. Because even regiments of renown, that's just if you want to include it in your army. They have to declare how you can get other units from detachments that are in your allegiance, but not your codex. Because before, I don't think you could take, as Chaos, I don't think you could take Skaven allies. I don't think that was the case. Even though they were part of the Chaos Allegiance. Because within allegiances, there were explicit rules for who could, you know, interact with who. They might add it with the codexes, but I'm not going to hold my breath. I feel like they're trying to separate people. I feel like they're trying to split a lot of the units up. Try to limit some of the weird gimmicky stuff you can do. Like, if I'm not mistaken, one of the key things about Disciples of Tzeentch in the last edition was you would want to take Archaon, because technically he was a wizard, and I think he was included in your fate dice system, so you could technically fate dice things to death. Which was a pretty strong prospect. So I'm going to try to add some more metallic stuff. Based on some sizes and things. Out here. I'm intrigued. I'm always cool and interested in new systems. I don't know how long it's going to last locally. I know a lot of the people have gotten into it, though. Like, this has hyped up a lot of the locals into really pushing towards wanting to try a new system, which I think is more exciting, I guess, for the people who locally were pretty much exclusively Age of Sigmar. Like, there's just a cross-section of people out here who started getting into 40k like a couple days ago. Like, I think last month they were talking about it. And the only reason they were doing it was because they've been diehard Age of Sigmar fans who just never get games anymore with, like, they have the same maybe 3 or 4 people locally that they play against, and then that's it. And there's just this massive pool of players who play 40K, and they were like, all right, we're getting into 40K because we want to play against people. That's the whole point. Let's get some games in. And now that Age of Sigmar is like, yo, new rules, a lot of the local 40K players are just like, yo, let's try it out. So now they're about to get a new pool of people to play with. The question is how many of them are going to go past the Spearhead level and actually try to play like full-blown games. We'll have to see. I don't think I have a 2,000 point army. Actually, no, I think I do. I think I do, actually. Alright, Arturo. Hopefully we stream tomorrow. Hopefully we'll see you. Combat Patrol's the same way. With enough knowledge and speed, you could get a Combat Patrol game done in 45 minutes or something. No problem. We actually did a 3-round tournament at the local store that was like 6 hours long. All because of Combat Patrol. Like, honestly, the tournament at the convention I went to probably should have decided to go Combat Patrol instead. Just because it's easier to organize for, I think. Alright, I know there's some components up by his neck that are going to need to be fixed. Like there's some cross-beamy stuff up here. No, yeah. Smaller scale is definitely more fun just because you'll get more games in, but it's not, it's also like more limiting. So it's that weird situation of like, oh, I really wish I could, you know, fully strategize my army together, as opposed to seeing sort of this taster's choice of what I could be doing. So there's positives and negatives. I think local community-wise, Combat Patrol is definitely a better idea. I've been seeing people pop up talking about wanting to learn 40K on some of the local Discords, and my first reaction is usually to be like, look, get a Combat Patrol together. It's going to be the best way. Like, honestly, I could meet you at that store you're talking about, and then we could play like 4 rounds of Combat Patrol. And you can kind of see how that plays out. think we're gonna want to, what time is it? 2:30? Where's my Reichland flesh? Get some shade back in here. Pin wash some shade in, drop it in some spots. All right, I think we get the texture paste down. That way it'll be dry by tomorrow. Oh, I forgot the little pistons in here. Actually, we can do a little detail back here. There's actually a couple spots though. Let me quickly double check, make sure. Because I saw them here that I needed to hit. A little bit down here, needs a little bit more. I might water down some of this Vulpus and go back over some of these pink spots. Try to pull it back a little bit. Alright, the thing I wanted to try out is a small detail. He has these little horn things. We could do them as skeleton if we really want to. But I'm kind of thinking that on a lot of these models where I have these little like teeth and talon details, I usually do them as glowing. Like my Forge Fiends have it, my Mauler Fiend's gonna have it. So far I think we've done, how many hours today? 3, and then I think, that's my Dremel tool. And then I think I did maybe like 2 yesterday. We're up to 5, I want to say. And that's beyond the simple airbrushing that we start at. Because airbrushing is just airbrushing. It almost takes like 20 minutes. And then of course build. This guy did take a minute to build. The spiders, yeah, they're done. They're varnished. We still have to do the warp smiths. We have to start the we have to start up the rest of the predator parts. We have to start the Mauler Fiend. I think we're gonna OSL this guy a little bit. Specifically down by the bottom of his staff here. Once all this is done, I'm gonna like kind of hit this with some white ink, and then maybe we'll hit it with fluorescent magenta to give it like a slightly different energy. When I finish this, we'll put the paste on. Then I can show you the venom crawlers. Tomorrow I'm gonna have to make sure I grab my stuff for my spearhead before heading out. I think the event's on Sunday. I need to check the Facebook. I'll probably go to the store on Saturday with my stuff. And if they have the things I need to purchase there, I'll grab them. And then if someone's there and is just like, yo, you want to play? I'll be like, let's do it quick. Boom. Move this back over there. Okay, we need crackle. Do I want to just do crackle? I mean, it kind of matches the stones. We'll do a blend. We'll do a blend. I need my coarse pumice. This is golden crackle paste. When it dries, it creates little seam lines. I'll show you what it looks like with the venom crawlers. I keep wanting to call them warp crawlers. Too used to warp spiders. But this is just texture paste from the golden line. When it dries, it kind of develops a different feel. And then you can simply apply contrast paint over top of it to tone it the way you want for your terrain. Which for my chaos tends to be desert stuff. So Argos Dunes. It's kind of like the Citadel technical paints, but the Citadel paints are a little bit more specific in terms of their toning, color, and kind of how they dry. They dry a little differently. So the primer is in this. Like, this is pre-primed. This is meant to be applied to a canvas that you've primed to then dry and then be painted directly on top of. That's how this is supposed to be. You can actually mix pigment directly into it if you want to tone it a specific way. The Citadel ones are okay. They look okay. They're usually fine. But with a little practice and a little time, with this kind of paste, you can actually achieve some really cool outcomes. Because I feel like you have a little more control over it than what you get from the Citadel pastes. You have to be very careful with it. I've experienced a lot of flaking and chipping with it when I first started out, and then I started to discover that you kind of need to make sure the surface is primed, which the surface is primed on this. The surface of this is primed black. I'll usually paint my primer to the surface if I need to. Oh, I see why it fell. Looking really good. Let me grab one of my venom crawlers. I can grab both. Varnish box. Pull the screamers out too. Gonna need these for later. Make sure that the flight stands look fine. They do. They look a little cloudy compared to what they were. That's fine. So. Let me see if I can get you toned right. So this is the combination. You've got the very sandy coarse grain, and then you've got the crackle paste, which I don't know how easy. You can see the cracks, crevices, and it kind of applies and dries the way you put it down with the knife, so you can actually create sort of like flows and feeling of movement in the terrain, whereas the paste that Citadel puts out usually kind of just does what it's supposed to do and then calls it, right? Like it's just, oh yeah, it's over, we did it, and now that's about the limit. Whereas this, you can have a little more fun with, I think. Because, like, you can build it up to edges, like how I did on that stone. Like, this is a stone that is part of the model. But if you kind of build it and shape it properly around it, you barely tell. Like, it really brings the things into the function. And then you can kind of see all the cracks and stuff there. Yeah, see? That's just Argos Dunes contrast applied over the end. And then Zamasi Desert dry brushed over top. And then we used the clear tar gel to try to create like the little goo. It doesn't stay as full as I want it to, but it's okay. It's good for slime because we used it for slime on the back as well. But yeah, so the paste is down. Hopefully it'll be dry by tomorrow, which means we could finish him tomorrow, which is cool. Because once we get the paste done, and once we get all the paint done, there's going to be like one thing of OSL I want to do on it. And that's going to be down at the baseline on the back. Which means we'll have to push everything aside and do that. Yep, Golden makes a ton of texture pastes. You just have to take a look around and see what you like. You're going to want to actually look at it too. It's like UV resin, but it's not resin. It's not toxic. It just dries over time. I think if I hit it with a hairbrush or a hair dryer, it might have dried it a little bit more like flatly. It wouldn't have like let it completely dry down, but basically you can apply it, wait for it to dry, apply more, and just keep building it up. Takes a lot longer, but it's not toxic. So, well, not as toxic. Everything's kind of a little toxic. Never escaping that. But yeah. I'm going to take some pictures and some video of him because I do like where he is. But yeah, tomorrow, hopefully, we'll be able to finish him. So he can be done, and then we're going to be on the game of trying, probably, depending on how much time we have tomorrow, to prime and get baseline gold down on my Forge Fiend, my Predator parts, all my obliterators, as well as the extra parts I have for my Knights. I think I kind of want to take the Predator parts home with my construction components, because I think I can fix this. It's so close to being good. I just need to be able to cut certain components out. Because like this kind of works, right? The problem is that internally there's a piece of plastic on this side that's pushing it out and it's making it an issue. And if I can get rid of that component, this should just pop down and then snap on. As opposed to what it's doing now, which is not being able to get to the magnet it needs to connect with. So I'll need that, this. Oh, but hang on, that fell. And I think that'll be about it. Yeah. Because if I can get that fixed tonight, then we should easily be able to handle airbrush painting tomorrow. Get that all finished. Thanks for hanging out. Thanks for chilling. We'll finish Vashtor tomorrow, hopefully. Keep an eye on the Discord, because, I mean, if something comes up, I'll usually tell people there. Till next time, guys.